And local administration, local government. There are a lot of problems, the local government. Without devolving powers to the grassroots, how can you implement the 13th Amendment? There are a lot of issues.
If it is the case that the simple answer to all of those grievances, unmet needs and expectations and aspirations of the Muslim community in the northern province as well as the eastern have not been addressed so far because of the war, I will repeat the question: might it be possible for some engagement, more fruitful, more meaningful than before, to occur in the future?
Now,
and if you agree, how would you think that might happen?
You know, take for example the eastern province.
Yeah.
That is, now they have cleared the LTTE.
Sorry,
the whole of eastern province. They have cleared the LTTE from the eastern province. Sure. The entire administration in the hands of the Sri Lanka government.
Sure.
Now, what is happening there after the establishment of the provincial council? The provincial council is unable to implement the rights. As I told you earlier, they don't have the facilities to do that. Land issue, they have not, that becoming more and more complicated now.
So you are saying that even as we move forward, ironically, the complexity of the issues will go even more dense.
Yes, because soon after the demerger, the entire administration of the eastern province is singalization. The governor is a Sinhalese. Most of the senior secretaries are the Sinhalese. We are not opposed to Sinhalese being in the senior positions, but there must be some consideration for the minorities. Those are the two provinces, northern and the east, where the minorities are the majority. They must have the right to govern themselves. You see? For example...
So just on that point, are you then espousing self-determination for the Muslim community as well?
Yes, we are for the internal self-determination. That is the cornerstone of the whole devolution, you see. You see? We are trying to enjoy power within the unitary constitution, unitary state. But that is not being done. 22 years have passed since the 13th Amendment.
Are you looking for guidance and thought leadership to facilitate the addressal of these needs from the politicians alone? Is there any movement on the ground that you would wish to see grow to kind of agitate for this kind of thing that you're talking about from the ground, the people?
Now, my contention is, unless the mindset of the majority Sinhalese people change in favor of devolution of power to the minorities communities, nothing will work. 13th Amendment will be a total failure. Most of the politicians are not in favor of devolution, particularly MEP, JHU and the JVP. We are not asking for the change of the constitution. We want the devolution to take place within the existing law. But that is not being done. The public administration is not devolution friendly. The center is totally against the devolution.
But is that from the Muslim community, given the exhaustive documentation that you have, could there be avenues for engagement in the future once, as you say, the LTT has been diminished as a factor in the addressal of these needs on the ground?
You know,
or there's nothing? I mean, I just want to get a sense of what level of hope that you have? From what I've been hearing, there's not too much of it.
What I am asking is,
Yeah.
His Excellency the President
Yes.
has put it very clearly in formulating a political and economic framework for the resolution of the national question. The APRC has been guided by the address made by the President on 11th July 2006. He is very clearly spelled out. People in their own localities must take charge of their destiny and control their political and economic environment.
Now you're quoting from the President's speech.
Yes.
Right.
Devolution also need to address issues relating to identity as well as security and socio-economic development without over-reliance on the center. To address the question of regional minorities, a solution to the national question must ensure the unity of the country. This is very, very clear.
What's the problem?
What is the problem? Implementation is not done. If the administration is not keen to implement a presidential directive, but we have executive president, he has got enormous power. If the implementation authorities are not keen to implement these guidelines, what can the minority look forward under their setup?
Sure, and I'm trying to understand you. When we began talking about the issue, you said that the office of the executive president was detrimental to minority interests. Yeah, am I correct on that?
Yes.
And the history has shown that.
Yes.
Even though there is some argument that proposes that it was actually beneficial to or could be in terms of the office. Now, you are looking for the same office to now issue a directive to kickstart the addressal of legitimate grievances of the community. So, I mean, on the one hand, you have a history of inaction, and on the other, you're hopeful that there might be a directive.
My stand is this. There are two matters that is going against the minorities. That is the election system, proportional election system under the present constitution. The executive presidency. On principle, we need some modifications. That is one. What I am now trying to tell you, even with the present setup, we have to accept the constitutional provisions. The executive president's instructions and guidelines are not followed by the administration. That is the whole problem.
Now, you've spent 40 years?
Yes, 42 years.
Has it been any different, or has it been just a vicious cycle going on and on and on? I mean, how have you kept the spirit to doing this?
What my intention is to prevent the grieved Muslim youths to take up to arms.
And that's an interesting issue now. How real a present danger is that?
The problems of the Muslims and the Tamils are similar in the northeast area of historical habitation of the Tamil-speaking peoples. Very specifically spelled out in the Indo-Sri Lanka Accord and the Constitution. But the Tamil community, for the last 30-40 years, they were struggled hard. Finally, they took up arms, and we are experiencing
and we know what
all
happened.
those.
Right.
The problems, as far as the Muslims are concerned, is almost same. But the Muslim youths are also agitating. But my 42 years experience with all the Muslim organizations, we are trying to prevent them becoming terrorists, Muslim terrorists. We want to resolve all our problems in a democratic way. Whatever that is there in the Constitution, in the present Constitution, we are trying to exploit them and try to resolve our issue. Now, but the administration is not in favor.
But what you say is, I mean, disturbingly interesting, if I can coin a phrase there. If a Muslim youth